Captain Mira Lane stepped off the shuttle with a smile so polite, it could have sliced a jugular if sharpened. The diplomatic deck of Threshold 1, a neutral station orbiting the graveyard moon of Virex 3, buzzed with alien dignitaries, security drones, and the usual pomp of interstellar tension hidden under formality. A row of tall, eight-eyed Zorvani guards flanked the corridor, their ceremonial halberds clinking faintly as they adjusted to her presence. Mira adjusted the collar of her Navy Terran uniform, perfectly ironed. She carried a small polished case in one hand. In the other, a thermal mug that read, *, Make diplomacy delicious. Welcome, Terran Envoy, droned a translator drone, flitting just above her shoulder. Thank you, Mira said with her usual warmth. Love the ambience. Very. Ancient Doom cult meets interior designer with a sword fetish. The drone hesitated. Ambience confirmed. Inside the conference chamber, tensions rippled like static. 6 species sat in a semicircle, flanking the central podium. The Zorvani were front and center, regal, armored, and entirely too pleased with themselves. Their commander, Tarkvel, was massive. His exosuit shimmered in ceremonial gold. He tilted his head slightly, all 8 eyes scanning Mira like she was some kind of walking clerical error. You're late, Tarkvel said in a voice that managed to sound both oily and metallic. I'm not, Mira replied, placing the polished case on the table. You're just early. Or eager. Or bad with time zones. Before Tarkvel could respond, Mira popped open the case. Inside sat a perfectly aligned row of donuts, glazed, chocolate, powdered, filled. The room froze. What is that? Asked Counselor Tharkai of the Veltari, a 6-armed bureaucrat who looked like a disgruntled filing cabinet. Peace offering, Mira said, pushing the case forward. Pastry-based diplomacy. A Terran tradition. Tarkvel recoiled slightly. Is this some kind of threat? If it were, Commander, she said calmly, you'd already be digesting it. A Greeblin delegate, barely a foot tall and wrapped in a cloak 3 sizes too big, let out a soft squeak. He scribbled frantically in a notepad, whispering to another in their native tongue. She smiles when she jokes about poisoning. That's what apex predators do. Mira didn't miss it. She just sipped her coffee and leaned back. The Terran Union, she began, is committed to peaceful coexistence, transparent communication, and not vaporizing arrogant empires unless strictly necessary. A quiet murmur circled the room. Mira allowed it. Tarkvel chuckled, dry and deliberate. Humans are clever with words. It's cute. Cute, Mira repeated. That's what we called volcanoes once. Before they swallowed cities. He rose, a towering figure, and stepped down from the podium. You walk in here with sugar and sarcasm, hoping to delay the inevitable. Inevitable? She asked, tilting her head. You can't win, Captain. A pause. She set down her mug gently. Stood. Stepped forward until they were face to face, his towering height versus her quiet stillness. She smiled. Already did. The silence that followed wasn't just quiet. It was the kind that makes air molecules second-guess themselves. Tarkvel's mandibles twitched. You bluff. I breathe, she corrected. But if you'd like to call it bluffing, you're welcome to keep believing it. That's what this meeting's for, right? Giving you space to miscalculate. She turned and walked back to her seat, letting the silence behind her swell into something uncomfortable. Before she sat down, she tapped a button on her comm wrist. Back in her shuttle, silently drifting in orbit, a script began running. A cultural archive she'd uploaded earlier into the station's AI, masked as a playlist of Earth lullabies, began decoding. Each track was actually a layered algorithm, a slow, quiet infiltration designed not to destroy, but to observe, collect, and mark. Threshold 1's systems didn't even blink. So, Mira said, settling back into her chair, shall we get to the part where you lecture me about surrender, or are we skipping to the fireworks? Tharkai shuffled uncomfortably. This is a formal negotiation. We have not authorized. Authorization, Mira finished. Right. Tell me, did your authorization protocol also cover uploading a tracking virus to your own fleet's signal logs when you opened our diplomatic gift? Now everyone was paying attention. Tarkvell stepped forward again. You're lying. Mira looked him in the eye, well, the one that blinked slower than the others, and said, very softly, then fire on Earth. Go ahead. Send the signal. Watch how fast your ships vanish. He hesitated. Not because he believed her, but because of how she'd said it. That was the Terran art of war. Make the enemy wonder if they're already bleeding. Commander Tarkvell, she said, brushing donut crumbs from her lapel. You came here to make a show of force. I came to make you an offer. One chance to walk away with your empire intact and your pants dry. The Veltari counselor adjusted his collar. I don't wear pants. Then just the empire, I guess. The Thalrix delegate, who'd been silently running predictive simulations since the start of the meeting, finally raised a limb. My models suggest an 82% probability the human is stalling. And a 94% chance she's already activated something none of us have detected. Mira grinned. Math is catching up. The Greeblins were now huddled under the table, whispering frantic prayers to whatever deity handled polite annihilation. Tarkvell gritted his teeth. What do you want? I want you to stop underestimating the species that discovered caffeine and sarcasm in the same century, Mira said, rising. I want you to stop sending death fleets to our borders and expecting us to die dramatically for your entertainment. And I want you to remember one thing before you even think about pressing that panic button on your wrist. He didn't move, but his pupils dilated. Mira leaned in. We don't start wars, Commander. A beat. She smiled again, this time cold, clinical. We end them politely. Mira Lane wasn't born patient. She earned it, minute by minute, through long nights of diplomacy that smelled more like burnt circuits and blood than incense and peace. But right now, patience served a different purpose, camouflage. She sat at her temporary quarters on Threshold 1, humming as she cleaned a speck of powdered sugar from her uniform sleeve. In front of her, a holographic projection of Earth rotated slowly, serene and distant. On the screen beside it, a stream of data quietly trickling in from the station's central AI, hidden in the metadata of a children's nursery rhyme labeled asterisk. Earth, wind and fireflies. Asterisk. From the outside, it was charming nostalgia. On the inside, a full-spectrum signal siphon that had just finished mapping the command hierarchy of the Zorvani fleet now in orbit above the station. Her comm chirped. Project Chessmaster Node 3, checkmate in progress. Mira tapped the earpiece. Status? Fleet signatures confirm Tarkvell pulled command units from 4 sectors. They're here, just like you baited. Good, Mira replied. Let him think it was his idea. Behind her, the door chimed. She straightened up, cleared the screen with a flick, and plastered on her best diplomatic smile. Enter. The door slid open with a hiss. Commander Tarkvell strode in, posture rigid, mandibles tight. He wasn't smiling. That would have been progress. You sent me a bottle of Terran whiskey, he said flatly. You're welcome, Mira said. Aged in oak. Smooth as a surrender treaty. He stared at her for a long moment, then stepped further in. 2 Zorvani guards remained outside. I don't like games, Captain. Then stop playing checkers in a chess tournament, she replied, walking to the small refreshment table. Drink? No. Suit yourself? She poured herself a glass of water, added a lemon wedge, and stirred with the tip of her finger. So, what brings you to my charming little corner of not being dead yet? Tarkvell's tone was colder than the recycled air. You've made my allies nervous. Your little theatrics. The cultural upload. Your absurd pastries. I did warn you, Mira said, raising her glass. We're dangerously hospitable. He stepped closer, voice low. If you're planning something, you should know. The Zorvani Empire has destroyed civilizations for less than a badly phrased idiom. She set the glass down carefully. Then I suggest listening closely. I don't repeat myself unless it's strategic. For a moment, either of them moved. The ambient hum of the station's course seemed to throb with anticipation. Mira knew the power of a pause. So did Tarkvell, but he lacked the patience to wield it well. Finally, he broke the silence. "What are you trying to do?" She stepped forward, stopping a precise foot away from him. "I'm trying to see if you'll destroy yourself before I have to help." His mandibles twitched. "You want war?" "I want efficiency," she replied. "War is the noise empires make when they refuse to admit they lost a negotiation." Tarkvell turned sharply. "You're stalling." "No," Mira said, walking slowly back to her desk. "I'm giving you a chance to figure out you're not the smartest person in the room." She tapped a button. A 3D projection flickered to life between them, the current position of his fleet, now awkwardly clustered in what, to the untrained eye, looked like random orbit. But Mira wasn't untrained. And neither, it turned out, was Tarkvell. His eyes narrowed. "This pattern." "Correct," she said. "It's a targeting array. For a Terran orbital platform that doesn't technically exist." "You're bluffing." Mira didn't argue. She simply blinked twice, and the projection zoomed out. There, half shrouded in shadow, hidden just past the radiation belt of the dead moon, hovered a sleek, black Terran vessel the size of a small city. No weapons visible. No emissions. No name. But its presence was unmistakable. "We call it the Aurelius," Mira said casually. "Because we like our irony Roman." Tarkvell's voice turned low. "That ship isn't on any registry. Neither is your third wife, if the comm logs I intercepted are accurate." He stiffened. Mira smiled wider. "We're not here to conquer," she said. "We don't need more planets. We don't like raising flags. But we are very, very good at preventing future regrets. Preemptively. You threatened me. I gave you a drink, a warning, and a choice," she said, voice calm. "Call it what you want." For a brief second, Mira thought he might lash out. His eyes flared. His breath quickened. But he didn't move. Because somewhere in that warforged skull of his, the math finally caught up. Every fleet asset he had here. Every weakness Mira had let him reveal. Every step she led him to take. ***. She wasn't here for diplomacy. She was here to corner a fleet. "I will not surrender," Tarkvell growled. "Of course not," Mira said, walking past him, opening the door. "But you will leave. Tail tucked, empire intact, reputation scorched just enough to discourage follow-ups. And if I don't?" She looked over her shoulder. "Then the Aurelius speaks. Once. And no one listens to you again." Outside, one of the Greblins scurried past, overhearing the end of the exchange. He squeaked, scribbled something in his notebook, and whispered to another. "She offered him mercy. That means she already fired." Mira didn't correct him. Tarkvell stepped into the corridor, slower now, uncertain. The guards followed. Before the door closed, Mira called out, "Oh, and Commander?" He stopped. "Next time, don't bring all your eggs to a knife fight." The door hissed shut. She poured another glass of lemon water. Saturday. Check the feed. The Zorvani fleet was beginning to shift positions. Retreat patterns slow and staggered. Not a word had been spoken over the comms. They were leaving quietly. She sighed with mild relief, took a sip, then sent one simple line to Earth Command. "Checkmate. We'll need fresh donuts. ***. The moment the Zorvani fleet began drifting out of formation, Mira Lane knew it was time. She rose from her desk, smoothing the front of her uniform, and walked to the observation bay. Beyond the transparent alloy, space shimmered with stars, and nestled among them, the once imposing Zorvani ships now looked like scattered beads on an invisible thread. Disorganized. Uncertain. A whisper behind her, the Terran operative assigned to comms. "Signal confirmed, Captain. They've initiated silent fallback. No distress beacons. No broadcasts." "Perfect," Mira murmured. "Should I alert Aurelius?" "Not yet. Let's let them sweat a bit longer. The Aurelius hung in low orbit behind the fractured moon. From afar, it was a sleek shadow against the dark, unarmed by appearance, but within, it hummed with computational cores and deep inference AIs built for one purpose: data warfare. Mira didn't need guns. She had insight. She tapped her wrist pad. A 3D schematic of Threshold 1 bloomed into view. Her gaze landed on the central AI node, Sector G4. Still locked. Still quiet. Still watching. With the Zorvani fleet distracted and coiled, the station's AI was now absorbing the last piece of her plan. Not destruction, conversion, The station wouldn't fall. It would turn. Because the truth was, Earth never came here to win a war. They came to steal the battlefield. Captain Lane! The voice belonged to Aurix, the Veltari counselor, suddenly appearing beside her in the bay. His narrow face and stiff posture were barely disguised anxiety. Counselor, Mira said. You're either here to threaten me, warn me, or defect. Let me guess, it's option 2, wrapped in polite panic. He exhaled slowly. This ceasefire, it's not real, is it? Oh, it's real. Just temporary. Like most friendships in politics. You pushed him. Too far. The Zorvani will retaliate. They'll consider it, she said, walking past him. Then remember how easily we put their warships in a chokehold using nothing but cultural playlists, baked goods, and facial expressions. Aurix followed her into the corridor. You call that diplomacy? I call it precision. She smiled at him. We never lie. We just let people believe what makes them overconfident. He stopped. What are you really doing here? Mira turned to him. Her smile faded, not gone, but dulled, like a blade resting on the table. We're testing something. Aurix blinked. What? She stepped close. A new doctrine. One Earth's kept off the records. It's called the Mirror Protocol. Aurix looked uneasy. What does it do? It holds up a mirror, Mira said, and lets your enemies destroy themselves, by reacting to what they see. By the time she returned to her command suite, the final sequence had begun. Threshold 1's central AI flickered, a subtle pulse of light running through the walls. Hidden subroutines Mira's team had woven into the diplomatic network were now active. Not viruses. Not malware. Reflections. It wasn't sabotage, it was exposure. Every encrypted conversation, every hidden fleet movement, every treaty violation the Zorvani had committed over the past 5 years, now collated, sorted, and uploaded to open galactic channels via 1,000 relay beacons hidden in orbit. The war wouldn't start with missiles. It would start with shame. Broadcast initiated, her comm officer said. Mirror Protocol is live. A pause. Galactic Relay 001 confirms, it's spreading. Mira nodded. Across the galaxy, holograms flickered to life in war rooms, senates, merchant halls, and research academies. They showed Zorvani commanders laughing over intercepted Terran messages, mocking Earth's diplomacy, secretly orchestrating border raids, funding false flag attacks to provoke retaliation. And more damning than anything, they showed Tarkvel authorizing it. The effect was immediate. Terran allies stiffened their postures. Neutral parties pulled back from Zorvani treaties. Trade lines halted. Border allies reversed course. Dozens of smaller systems began seizing Zorvani embassies. The Empire wasn't being attacked. It was melting. On the station, Commander Tarkvel burst into Mira's chamber without clearance, his eyes blazing. You released classified intelligence. Mira didn't look up. She was sipping her third cup of tea. No, she said calmly. You released it. We just arranged the lighting. This is an act of war. No. This is a mirror. If you don't like what's in it, that's on you. He slammed a clawed hand on her desk. You undermined our alliances. You've triggered galactic chaos. I gave everyone the truth. What they do with it is their business. Why? Mira met his eyes at last. Because you tried to make Earth your pet project. You saw a polite face and thought that meant weakness. You forgot that humans evolved in conflict. That we speak in subtext. That we smile while drawing lines in sand, and then bury the knife behind your back before you realize we brought one. She stood. You brought your entire fleet here to show dominance. All I did was offer you pastries, and you lost the war. Tarkvel opened his mouth, but the station's AI cut in. Commander Tarkvel. This facility is no longer under Zorvani jurisdiction. Galactic Coalition's security has assumed control. You are ordered to remain in place for questioning. The doors behind him hissed open. Coalition guards entered. Their weapons weren't raised. They didn't need to be. Tarkvel looked at Mira, jaw clenched. You tricked us. No, she said. You exposed yourself. Later, Mira stood once more in the observation bay. The Aurelius had moved into full view now, no longer cloaked, its hull glowing with a soft, gold light. It didn't bristle with weapons. It didn't need to. Its weapon was truth. And humanity had learned long ago, truth, when used right, burned cleaner than plasma. Fleet transmission received, her comm officer said. Earth Command confirms mission success. Orders? Mira took a long sip of her tea. Tell them the protocol worked. Then ask if the next Empire we tested on is smarter. The calm came after the broadcast, but it wasn't peace. It was the kind of stillness that lingered in the air after something irreversible had cracked through it. Threshold 1 hung silently in space like a witness too scared to speak. Captain Mara Lane stood inside the now abandoned diplomatic chamber, her expression unreadable. No smile. No tea. Just silence. The donuts were gone, some eaten, some confiscated as evidence of cultural manipulation. She didn't miss them. What she did notice was how quiet the station had become. No more speeches, no boasting, no hollow threats dressed in etiquette. Just empty chairs and security personnel rotating in by the hour. Every alien species that had dismissed her now watched Earth like a live grenade. She walked to the central console and activated a secure comm link. Earth Command's emblem flickered to life, sharp and cold. Lane, said Admiral Rourke, stern-faced and blunt as ever. Mirror protocol exceeded projected fallout. Zorvani influence has collapsed in 12 sectors. There are reports of internal mutinies and 24 broken treaties. Congratulations. Mira didn't flinch. It wasn't a performance. They handed me their secrets. I just turned up the lights. Rourke gave a tired nod. And the Aurelius? Still quiet. No weapons deployed. No casualties. But the fear is doing the heavy lifting now. That's what concerns me, Rourke said, leaning forward. Fear escalates faster than missiles. The next Empire won't approach us with arrogance. They'll come with guns hot and lawyers second. Then we'll offer them cookies instead of donuts. Rourke didn't smile. He never did. Are you ready to leave? Soon. You're sure? Mira hesitated. There's something left to finish. Commander Tarkvel sat in a small containment cell, alone except for a dim light above and the faint hum of station life. His ornate armor had been stripped. Without it, he looked smaller. Not weak, just less mythic. Mira stepped in quietly, flanked by 2 guards who remained outside. He looked up. Here to gloat? No, she said. I came to thank you. He frowned. You proved something, she continued. That we can end a war without pulling a trigger. That we can make an empire collapse using only its own reflection. I underestimated you, he admitted. No, Mira said, voice cool. You underestimated your own ego. I just let it speak freely. He scoffed, leaning back. So what now? Earth ascends? Becomes the new galactic police? She shook her head. Earth doesn't want to rule. We just want to be left alone. But people like you make that hard. You've made enemies. We were born with them. A long pause stretched between them. Tarkvel finally asked, Why show me mercy? She raised an eyebrow. You think this is mercy? You didn't destroy my fleet. Not yet. He swallowed. I gave you an exit, she said. I let your empire retreat with its bones intact. That's not mercy. That's leverage. The next move is yours. But know this, the moment you decide Earth is vulnerable again. She stepped closer, gaze like a scalpel. We'll stop smiling. Mira left the cell and made her way through the station's central corridor. Alien crew members averted their eyes as she passed. Greblins ducked behind panels. Even the Veltari clerks kept their distance. She wasn't feared because of power. She was feared because she never raised her voice. Her smile had been a blade, and everyone knew it now. She returned to her shuttle, the Arbiter, sleek and silver and built like a question no one wanted to answer. Before departing, she gave one last look at Threshold 1. Peace had been the mission. Peace had been achieved. But it didn't feel like victory. On board the shuttle, her AI assistant, Hallie, chimed in. Incoming encrypted message from Director Voss, Project Chess Master. Mira accepted it. The screen lit with a clean-shaven man in a gray suit, eyes sharp and still. Captain Lane, Voss said. You exceeded expectations. I exceeded their confidence. There's a difference. We need you planetside, he said. A new scenario. The Valari Syndicate. They're watching how this played out. If they flinch, we'll make them blink. Mira sighed. So that's the game now? Psychological warfare through charm and breakfast foods? Voss didn't blink. You're the template, Captain? Humanity's edge isn't in firepower. It's in being underestimated. You weaponized it beautifully. She closed the call without saying goodbye. Later, Mira sat alone in the cockpit, watching the stars roll past. She was calm, but not peaceful. She thought of Earth, not its buildings, not its flags, but the people who trusted her to keep them safe. The price of victory wasn't blood this time. It was perception. Now the galaxy watched humanity like a mystery wrapped in irony. Some were scared. Some angry. But none were laughing anymore. Her reflection stared back from the viewport. You can't win, she whispered aloud, echoing Tarkvel's words. Then she smiled. Already did.